Welcome back. Zach here with Team Discmania, owner of RotorDiscSupply.com. This is going to be part 2 of our percentages series, trying to play the smartest, highest percentage chance for a good score. Not necessarily a birdie, but a good overall score for the cumulative 18. So here at hole 10, it's 240 feet from the blue tee with a 13-foot elevation increase. The biggest risk here is going to be OB on both sides of the fence, left and right. Once you go past this perpendicular fence, the green narrows and actually becomes a sidewalk running around that goes OB, sidewalk, and beyond. So you have 2 plays here. If you're not confident on your distance getting over the fence or hitting the green, I'd highly recommend just a backhand, forehand, whatever you're comfortable with, to the fence line. Do a little scuba over the top, lay it up, tap in your par. This is attackable for a birdie, though. I like the forehand because it's going to spike into the hillside and check up. So we're going to go C-line FD1 on a smooth forehand. And because I'm throwing a faster disc, I can throw with more control and throw smoother. So I'm just going to throw a slight hyzer, hanging out right at the edge of OB and let it swing in. And I'm going to use the height and hyzer angle to check up my distance. All right, so we're short of the fence. I kind of wanted about 5 feet further over. But like I said, I'm not going super aggressive because there is a risk of overpowering this, or if I keep it up too high, I could skip OB right. So we're just going to scuba over the fence and lay up our par. Ideally would have been about another 5 to 10 feet. I caught the top of the fence. That's fine. What we're going to do here is, like I said, we're going to scuba over, and then we're just going to tap in our par. I'm going to go with the tactic for the flat surface for just an easier grip and a little smoother slide. So this is not OB, so I can't take relief off of this. So I'm just lining up my shot with the basket, easy scuba over. Not trying to make that because I don't want to go too far past. So I left myself about a 10-foot putt. Here's our scuba, slid a little bit down the hill, but still about a 10-foot putt. Oop. Let's go. Hole 11, par 3, 325 downhill with a 30-foot drop in elevation. So this is going to play closer to like 250 feet just because of the elevation drop. So we need to make sure we control our distance. We can do that 2 ways. I can throw a putter, which I'm going to do here, or we can throw a hyzer. The only risk of the hyzer here is these poles and the wires and the hillside. So if we check up on the hill and roll back down the hill, we're going to leave ourselves with a long putt. Where at the putter, it's mostly just going to stay flat. I'm not going to get that skirt cut roll away as I hit the ground and check up, which happens about half the time depending on the angle that your hyzer hits the ground at. So we throw Cosmic Fury, nice, controlled, low, high spin, and just let the gravity do its work and pull the disc down. As the ground keeps dropping, it's just going to keep flying. So just aim about your 250-foot power, maybe a slight hyzer out to the right so I get a little bit of checkup and control the distance, and just let it swing in. They're starting to drift back to the left. And no, huge skip. Okay, but we didn't get the cut roll away, so I have about a 33-foot putt. If I didn't get that huge explosion skip, then it should have actually kind of cut towards the basket, and we should have been left with about a 20-foot putt. Pretty good, though. All right, guys. Hole 12, 283, 20-foot drop in elevation. Blind tee shot with a Mando. We basically just want to focus on throwing a flex around the Mando, or you can go forehand. With this to have a better look at birdie, we're going to throw a slight anti-flex forehand with the Cosmic Fury. So all I need to do is just match this hillside and let the disc work for me. I just need to make sure I commit to that anhyzer angle. All the way down, a little float down the hill, and we should be parked about a 10-foot tap in. Not too bad. Follow the hillside. We just came down this way, slid on the ground a little bit, got a 10-foot tap in. Easy work. Hole 13. It's 322 feet, 30-foot increase in elevation, tight bend over to the right around a Mando tree up the hill. This is one of the trickiest holes out here. And if you ever see a hole like this, the smartest thing to do is break it down into 2 shots. We're going to make the straight shot with as much bend to the right as we can. Up shot, take the 3. I can tell you that even in MPO, you're only going to see about 33 to 40% birdies on this hole because of the technicality of it. If you have a 420-foot power hyzer forehand, then this hole becomes really easy. The only person I've seen do that out here is the one and only the Eric Oakley. And I think Gavin did it once. So the trick here that we're going to do today is we're going to showcase the new S-Line DD. So take your flippy, almost roller disc. So for me, this is basically replacing my old D-Line FD rollers. So I'm going to throw this flat out to the left and just let the disc work for me and get as far up and right on the hill as I can. I'm not trying to power this over. I'm just going to let the disc do the work for me because I don't have a 420-foot forehand because of an elbow injury. So up, disc bends to the right. Let the understability work for me. Now I have an easy checkup spot, and I'm just going to up and down, easy 3. Easy work here for the up and down. Like I said, the birdie's just not going to happen. This is a really tricky hole. Like I said, even for MPO, you're going to maybe 30 to 40% at best. The goal here is to make sure you don't put yourself in a bad situation by hitting one of the early trees or just being a long upshot. By having the turnover work for us, I've left us with an easy up and down jump putt. Like we said before with the previous holes, I'm not trying to make this. I'm just trying to get it close enough to have a tap in. So easy tap in, and we'll move on to 14. Hole 14 is going to be a pretty straightforward shot. It's similar to hole 4 without the trees in the way until the very end. We got 214 feet, 20 feet in elevation. So we're going to go same thing as hole 4. If you remember from the first video, we threw the Midnight Prowl, Origin, something a flippy mid, and we're going for that hyzer flip up the hill. I'm going mid, even though it's only 200 feet, just to get a little bit more control in the disc so I can go smoother with it and still get the distance instead of throwing a putter hard. That's usually what I would throw as a logic. But same thing as hole 4. We're just going to throw the Midnight Prowl nice and smooth. Hyzer flip out to the right and let it drift back in. And it should be sitting about 5 feet. Little 10-foot tap in we found ourselves with. So we're going to take our time, make sure we don't miss. Focus up, pick your link you want to hit. And we're going to drive through, follow through all the way into the chain. And make sure you don't fall forward and get a falling putt when you have an easy birdie. Hole 15, 187 feet. Dead straight. One of the trickiest holes on the course, but also with the most aces and the most bogeys. Just because this was kind of another one of those filler holes that needed to exist, and we couldn't get any equipment here. It looked like the woods out here to the right, and we hand cut this into existence. So super short, but tricky. Nothing but guardian trees. It's a little bit of a poke and hope, but there's definitely a line here. I'm going to show you both. So what I'm going to recommend is the Cosmic Fury on a nice, smooth fan grip if you're comfortable with it to control the spin rate so you don't overthrow the hole. And we're trying to just look through the gap, not worry about the trees, and make sure we commit our hips and our line straight through at the target. And I'm basically just throwing this flat a little nose up so the stability will carry me back. And I'm just aiming at the trees over here. If I get there, I have a 20-foot putt. It's good enough for a look at birdie. Oh, almost got the ace. All right. So we're sitting about 15 to 20 past because that fan grip nose up kept me from just sailing. Otherwise, it's way too easy to accidentally end up 40 deep in the woods. Otherwise, I would highly recommend, not really, going full tilt at this. It's just a fun shot, and shout out to one of the craziest discs ever made by Simon Lizotte. No, the skip got blocked. That always almost aces every time. And for the one time you guys actually see it, I got the anti-skip to the right. The nose up left us with about 15 feet. So like I said, if I'd thrown this flat, then the disc was just going to keep pushing into, you know, all this. And we don't really want to go into Narnia. So a little straddle putt. I'm going to pick my link, focus up, and I'm going to drive my follow through all the way into the chains, especially because I'm in my non-standard stance here. So this is the one I don't practice as much. It is important to try and make sure if you're typically a straddle putter or a staggered stance putter that you're practicing both for situations like this, because I just can't take my standard stance into the bushes. So I'm going straddle, making sure I'm committing through the putt, all the same things, and just focus on where you want this putt to go and then putt about 5 feet through it. Hole 16, 476-foot par 3. This one's super technical. So the short tee on this hole is much, much easier. This is like a must-get birdie from the short tee. And mostly you just want to make sure you save par here. Birdie is gettable, but only if your tee shot is clean. Once your tee shot's not clean, do not try and get birdie anymore. It's out of the question. You're going to want to just save your par and keep pushing on. But the goal here is staying clean off the tee. There's two ways we can do this. If I want to go for birdie, I need to go a little more aggressive, but I still want something kind of similar to 13 where the disc is going to work for me and it's going to turn over, because this does bend slowly to the right and then downhill and keeps going and then goes back uphill to where the basket's actually at the same elevation we are. The other way I can do this is with something flippy like a Midnight Prowl, but I'm just going smooth, and my goal here is just to get in front of the short tee, which, as I said, is pretty much a must-get birdie from the short tee, which means if you're still getting the short tee birdie, then you're getting a par from here because you have that one additional throw to get there, if that makes sense. So on holes like this, where the short tee is so much further ahead, sometime your best play is just to get in front of the short tee and then play it smart from there and just keep going. So we go Midnight Prowl twice, or even a Logic twice to get us up there, and then a Logic or a Tactic approach for the tap-in par. I'm going to show you both the aggressive and, well, the line will be the same. So I'm going to throw the aggressive shot with a DD, and I'm going to let this work the same for me and just bend over and go around the hill as much as I can get, and that'll give me the up and down for the birdie. If I wanted the par, I'll throw the same shot, just with a slower disc. So disc breaks over to the right for me, panning all the way down the hill, and it's in the clear, and I'm going to have about an 80-foot up and down for the birdie. And I know we were talking percentages here, and this is the one hole where I wanted to highlight sometimes you get towards the end and you're looking at scores, you might need to push the more aggressive line. So with this one, the percentages don't really change so much. As long as I execute the angle off the tee, regardless if I'm throwing the Midnight Prowl or the DD, the flight was going to be the same. It was just the distance that changed. Whereas there is a higher percentage chance that the driver hits a tree because it's carrying more speed, will kick into the woods more. But once you're in the woods, there's no going towards the basket anymore. It's just a pitch out. So on a hole like this, because the fairway is wide enough, the second shot up the fairway is pretty textbook because there's not too many trees in the way. It's just how far you can get up the fairway off the tee. So this is one hole where I would say the percentage of getting aggressive is most likely worth it, because even if I miss and I hit one of the trees and I kicked in the woods, I'm going to take my medicine. Always take your medicine and just pitch straight out, even backwards if that's the biggest gap. Put yourself back in a good position as if you walked the disc out and picked the best spot in the fairway to throw from. Toss your disc to there so that you make sure you can execute the upshot. And that's what I do in this hole. We got fortunate. We didn't hit anything. So now we have an easy up and down for the bird. If I'd hit something, I would have pitched out, had an easy up and down for the par. So this is one where I do recommend you play this slightly more aggressive percentage line. And in this case, it worked out. So we have a jump putt for the eagle. Because there's nothing really risked other than the rollaway, we're going to run the eagle putt. And hopefully we get lucky. If we don't, the biggest thing that's going to happen is the rollaway, and I'm not too worried about that. Not too bad. Easy up and down. It's pretty far. We're looking at about 85 feet here. So that's about the max distance for my jump putt, as you saw. I don't even think I made it all the way there. Hole 17, 416-foot par 4. While that sounds short for a par 4, trust me, this elevation is way more than it looks on camera. So we're looking at 35 feet of elevation, and all of that happens in the first 175 feet of the hole. The trick here, the percentages, even for me playing MPO, I'm going to throw the same shot I'm going to show you now that I would recommend for that MA2, just barely playing the blue tees, is we are going to go FD, and we are going to break this hole down into 2/3, 1/3. So we're going to go 2/3 of the way. All I'm trying to do on this one is I'm actually going to probably go 1/3, 2/3 here, the way the distance could break down. I'm just trying to get in a good position to execute a second shot that is easy. The good position on this is going to be about 2/3 the way up the hill, which is still only about 1/3 of the hole, maybe half. So I'm going to go FD because it keeps me nice and straight. Doesn't go to the right too much. Doesn't go to the left too much. A little S flight as we go up the hill. Speed will keep me going up the hill on the skip and the slide. And it's going to put me in a good spot for the flex forehand approach. For the easy up and down, we'll get a birdie look. Definitely guarantee par. So that's all we want. Checking up center of the hill, the driver scooting us up the hill, and that's a perfect spot to execute our second shot. As I said, we're in a good spot here. I still can't see the basket. So this is where course practice comes into play, because now I know where the basket's at. If you don't, and you're playing this blind, run up to the top of the hill, get eyes on the basket, because we need to know about where our aim point is. Pick something that you can see from here. Look at it continuously as you walk back to your disc to make sure you know where it's at. keeping in mind you would only have 30 seconds to do that. That's where course practice comes in mind. But I would run up to the hill, get my spot, run back down, line up the shot. We're going to go Vanguard on a flex forehand. And I have all this space out to the left. It's a wide open field, dense woods out to the right. So the bail play is to stay out to the left. So I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm going to put this a little wider left than I want to park it, intentionally leave myself a chance at the birdie with like a 25 to 30 foot putt. But that way I make sure I don't take it out completely by accidentally sawing this off and going into the woods. So Vanguard and hyzer out into the open field, hyzering back towards the basket, which I know where it's at, and you guys will see it when we get up there. That should be pretty good. Out in the field, it's going to stay out of the woods, and I think I sawed it off a little bit, which is going to happen when you're throwing this far uphill, which means I think we ended up with about a 15 foot instead of a 25 foot. All right, playing the percentages. As I said, it's pretty common when you go nose up, a disc is going to be more stable than you expected. So throwing the Vanguard, knowing that, I intentionally aimed out in the huge open space that's behind you, and I sawed it off knowing that that was a potential. Now, if I'd aimed where I wanted to park this, I would have been up in the ditch down in Narnia down here. This is like the scary side of Narnia. So I ended up checking up. This was kind of fortunate. If I'd executed the shot how I wanted, I'd be about 25 feet, about where your guys' viewpoint is kind of what I was aiming for. This was the mistake to make is, you know, for the tap in birdie. Otherwise, I would have probably laid up so I didn't have the death putt. And that's the decision you can make when you get here. But we are driving forward because we only got the 2 holes left. We need to make some strokes up if we left some on the course earlier. Hole 18, the last one. You guys have seen this one a couple times. You've seen it in my previous videos. But par 3, dead straight, open field. It's a little pinched off on the right because of the fence. And we got a huge open field. The same field that I was talking about bailing out to in 17 is also in play on 18 here. A little bit of overlap. There's no OB defining the 2 fairways. It's not as much of a safety risk as you might think. So we just kind of let it play as is. So because I have so much open room, as we talk about playing the percentage, playing your airspace that you have to, work any slight errors in our throw, I have way more room out to the left. So if you have a workable forehand, I mean, we're only throwing 250 feet here. Most people should have a 250 foot smooth forehand in their bag. I'm going to go S-Line MD1. It's the Horizon FD1, the Skywalker, cool huck stamp on this one. And going Skywalker and a little faster so I can go smooth on it. I'm just going to slight hyzer, play the space here so I have all this room to work out on my right. If I hyzer out a little early, I'll be 30 short. If I hyzer out late, I'll be 30 deep or 30 right. But the idea here is no matter what my miss is, I'm going to be 30 feet or in on all of these. So slight hyzer release, smooth. This is mostly just going to be a continuous arm speed with a nice smooth flick at the end. Let the fade work. And it looks like I kept it a little too straight. So we're going to end up 30 left. Lucky roll, so now we're about 25-20. And that's all we wanted. Leave ourselves inside circle putt to finish out the hole 18. All right, we got a lucky roll, I think, off of this and scooted. I thought we were going to be 20, but these berms off these trees have a little bit to do with some rolls. And we got a nice easy tap in birdie to finish out the 18. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you pick up some Cosmic Furious. If you haven't figured it out, it's one of my favorite discs in my bag. The new Horizon Skywalker FD1s. Also, amazing disc. It's a great counterpart to the C-Line FD1 because it's a little straighter, a little less overstable in the finish as I'm getting bit by a horsefly. So that's what we finished out with, just because I get that less of a bite and a little bit straighter fade on the finish on this, and it just makes for a lot more controllable flight. So pairing this with a C-Line, you can't go wrong with that combo. I'm also bagging the Showstopper just to get kind of the understable, straight, and then slightly overstable fairways. It's a great combo. Make sure you check these out. They drop this Wednesday, and we'll be back with some more discs and show off the DD some more in the future. Next stop is going to be the Discmania Open. So make sure you pick up some Discmania Open fundraiser discs. The Color Glow FD3, I'll be dropping a video on that next. And those drop Friday, the opening day of the Discmania Open. We'll see you guys.